Hello, and welcome back to a brand new season of Shmoozing with Avi, delving into Worldwide Jewry. To start it off, of course, we're going to start out in the UK. And to premiere this new season, we're going to have the incredible Rabbi Moshe Levy, one of the founders of Chazak within the UK, and of course now worldwide. And it's such an interesting take on how UK Jewry is growing and how Chazak is playing a central role in pushing that forward. So without further ado, welcome back to a brand new episode of Shmoozing with Avi. We are joined here today for Season 2, the premiere for Season 2 for UK Jewry. We are probably going to get a better name than that, hopefully. But for now, UK Jewry is joined by Rabbi Moshe Levy. Shkoch for joining us. This is
my pleasure.
No pressure, but I flew in just for this episode, so...
No pressure.
No pressure. Okay, fine. So, we're just going to go straight into this and I want you to start off telling us who are you and how did you get here? Because currently we are in the UK and I don't know if many can tell, but your accent is American, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there's a story here.
Okay, so who am I?
And what is it that you do as well? That's the big...
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in Flatbush, for elementary school, primary school. I was in Brooklyn. For high school, I went to a boarding school in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I spent a year in Eretz Israel in Medrash Shmuel. Went back to America. I was in Yeshiva of Rockaway, YFR. And while I was there also, I got a degree in finance. Then I went to the Mir for a few months, one Zman, and then I went back to America.
What was the decision to change from Yeshiva Rockaway to... Oh, you were saying in Torah, you were doing...
I was together, yeah. So I was in Israel for a year. Mm-hmm. Then I went back to America. I think I learned for a year, and then I did together learning and finance. And university and finance. Yeah. And then when I graduated, I said, let me go to Israel for a little bit. I was there. I'm an Israeli citizen. I had problems with the army, so I was there 4 months. And I went back. I was back in Yeshiva for Rockaway. I started dating. I only dated my wife. I got very lucky. I hit the jackpot on the first time.
First date? Wow.
Yeah.
Gonna give tips to all the viewers there.
A friend of mine called me up. He's like, Mo, you only dated your wife, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, before you dated your wife, did you ever hang out with girls? I said, no. I was a good yeshiva boy. He said, so how'd you know she's the right one? Maybe you just like spending time with girls. And I was like, yeah. But the way I see it is you look for certain things, and if she's got it, you go for it. He said, but how do you know? Maybe somebody else out there is better. I said, I think if that's your attitude, you'll probably never get married. Like... You look for certain things and you make it work.
You go in assuming that's the one?
Not necessarily. I almost went in assuming there's no way that the first one's the one. But thank God it was.
Wow.
So yeah, you never know. You never know where life's going to take you, where Hashem has in store for you to go, to do, to be. So take life a day at a time. So
you were in the Mir, you came back.
I was in the Mir, I came back, I dated my wife, we got married. I spent 1 month actually in Lakewood in the summer, right after I got married. And then I went to Israel. People ask me, how long you live in Israel? I'm like, I lived in Israel for a year, 5 times. Because every year I was like, maybe 1 more year. I don't know how I'm going to manage financially. I didn't plan on being a rabbi. I'm learning. I thought it was a nice thing to start your marriage with the foundation of Torah and Eretz Israel.
You were in Kollel there? Or?
So at the beginning I was in the Mir, and then I switched to Rabbi Berkowitz's Kollel, the Jerusalem Kollel. And... Rabbi Berkowitz always said to us, if there's something only you can do, or something only you're willing to do, then that's your responsibility. So when my brother-in-law, Rabbi Farhi, called me up, he was here in the UK, and he said the average age in most shuls, especially the Sephardi shuls, the average age is deceased. He said we need to do something to revitalize the youth. And I said, it's very nice. We can get up and give nice speeches in shul, but if they're not there, it doesn't help. He said, no, we're going to work with the schools, with the existing organizations, with the existing infrastructure, and be there with them and for them. And thank God, it's 11 years later, and things have exploded in the best way possible.
So straight from Jerusalem Kollel, you came here?
Came to the UK, yeah.
Wow. So do you want to give context to what Rabbi Farhi was actually leading up to? Because
Rabbi Farhi is my brother-in-law. I married a Farhi. He was working over here for Aish UK. And amazingly, Aish UK at the same time said to him, if you also want to, start Chazak, again, it's for all Jews, but especially aimed at the Sephardi community. My mom's Ashkenazi, nobody's perfect. But as is yours, if I'm not mistaken.
It's true. I got the more Ashkenazi looks here.
Yeah, so my father's from Yemen, and my mother's Ashkenaz. My father calls it shoko vanil. You get the nice mix.
We call it the Ashkefadim. We're the Ashkefadim.
So he said, come, let's do something. So here in Chazak, we're very lucky that we deal with all different ages. There's especially a big focus on teens. Let's say, like, I don't know if the people in America would know the schools, but I teach in Hasmonean boys and Hasmonean girls, a few hundred students per week. I mean, I have one class with 40 kids, another class with 60 kids, another class with 100 kids, another class with lunch and learn with another 60 plus, another class with another 70 girls. So very busy. We're in Emmanuel College, we're in JFS, we're in all the different schools. So Baruch Hashem. So we're in Emmanuel College. We have a lunch and learn. Mondays is Chazak Day. Come in, myself, my colleague Rabbi Yitzi David, a couple of women, and.
So what exactly is it that you're doing in those like lessons? What are you teaching them?
Usually we're teaching classes on the parasha or the chagim, but I feel that it's so imperative to just show the millennials and the younger generation that Torah is so not only beautiful but practical. I remember I had a student one time when I came to London. He's like, why did you decide to become a rabbi? Apparently I'm not your typical rabbi. I'll bring up sports and movies and whatever it is. And I said to the guy, imagine they open up a restaurant, best food you ever had in your life, by far. When you get home, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to tell all my friends and family, you got to go. I said, what do you gain? He says, no, I don't gain, but I want them to see how delicious it is. I said, same thing, I want everyone to taste how beautiful and delicious and practical Torah is. So how could I not go tell everybody and all my friends and family and anybody that's willing to listen? You got to go to this restaurant called Torah. It's the food is just unbelievable.
Do you see gains of all your work? I'm saying, because it must be hard, because I assume not every single person that you speak to, just the way of the world.
Of course, but
what do you see as do you see it as a long time, as a short time?
Different people at different stages of their life but even if they just walk away saying, wow, okay, that was very thought-provoking, that was inspiring, wow, the Torah is so beautiful, wow, there's a lot of practical lessons in that story. It wasn't just like Yaakov was fighting with an angel. That's a nice story that happened thousands of years ago. What's got to do with me? When you can show them that the lessons are so relevant in 2021 and they walk away saying, wow, that Torah is beautiful, Torah is amazing, it's so brilliant, I feel like I've opened that door for them to appreciate. I gotta come back to this restaurant. It's really good.
So most of you guys, you said, are like teenagers, but who else do you?
So we deal with teens, and then most organizations all over the world, they deal with a certain age group. They're very good with that age group. So you have people deal with teens, and then once they're 18, we deal with teens. We deal with kids. We then continue with them. I remember a few years ago, I had some guys by my house. They were in 24, 25. And there was one of the guys was saying he moved into a flat with one of the bachelor pad, one of his friends. And I said, 1 second, did you do a Chanukah Rabbayit? He said, no. I said, did you put up mezuzahs? He said, no. I said, okay, this week I don't have time. Next week, Monday, I'll buy the mezuzot. I actually got them from your dad. And we're doing a Chanukah Rabbayit. You make sure that you bring all the boys. And yalla. I didn't ask him. And he left. My wife's like, what was that? I said, they ate by our house when they were 16. They ate by our house when they were in university and they were 20. And they ate by our house when they're 24 and 25. We'll continue with people and try and make sure that there's different programming at different stages for different ages. Remember, we did a barbecue on Shavuot by someone's house for young professionals, probably ages about 23 to 30. And the host, magnificent house, he invited his nephew who was 17. And his nephew comes and he says to me, Rabbi, I was in Chazak last night and we had a nice Shavuot dinner and all night learning. But we don't get this. We don't get steaks and lamb chops and whiskey on tap. I said, if you get that when you're 17, what are you going to get when you're 25? In the Torah, but also even in the Gashmiut, in the physicality, different stages have different things and everything is calculated. So we definitely continue with, and we have a bunch of university programs. If you came here on Thursday night, this past week, there was 30 to 40 university students. And we have on Wednesday night for university girls, and Thursday nights is university boys. And then even past that, there's young professional programming and trips and all different stuff. And then even my colleague, Rabbi Yitzi David, him and his wife learned with a lot of Chatanim and Kalot. I think in the past year they must have learned with 30 plus, just this year, since they've been here, probably a few hundred, definitely a couple hundred. So we continue with them, and then we also do community. I'll go around most Shabbat speaking in different synagogues. That's not for the kids, not for the teens. We have a teens minyan over here, and we have a young professional programming, but I'll go also and do shiurim in people's houses. So we deal with all ages and all stages and all levels.
Do you think 11 years ago, when you get that call from Rafachi, do you think you could have imagined they would have got to this?
I'll be honest, I didn't think that much. I don't think. If I think too much, I probably wouldn't do anything. I have a friend of mine that in the summer I was in America, and when I was in yeshiva, we were in the same flat, in the same dira. And he's 39, not yet married, please God, this year. And the guy whose wedding was 39. And he said, you're lucky. You got married when you were young and stupid, and you didn't think. I said, I'm still young and stupid, I don't think. Like, I'll often do things, and I'll obviously think a little bit, and be like, yalla, let's just do it. They call me the yalla man. Yalla, let's just do it. But I said, we'll figure it out as we go along. Rabbi Franz spoke at the Siyam Hashas in New York, and he said, the enemy of great is perfect. So often people overthink, there's this or that. I'm the guy who's just like, again, it has to make some sense. But yalla, people ask me to speak at certain things. There was an organization, they deal with fertility, and they asked me to come speak to the couples married 10, 15, 20 years, never had kids. And I said, okay. And my wife says to me, what are you going to speak about? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I get there, and I was like, what was I thinking? But I wasn't thinking. And then you dive into Hashem, and hopefully he puts into your head and into your mouth the right things to say. So, to answer your question, I didn't really think what could be. I thought, the short term, let's do this. I never thought I'd be here this long.
What were the processes, though? Like, going from where you were, Rafachi, just giving you that call, to having now speaking in all of these schools, speaking to what you said, 700 kids a day or something?
700 kids a week. But that's just teens. Yeah. That's besides all the other programming that we do. We have the BBM, our Bet Midrash, that's not including that. It's not including our business
By the way,
project.
that was probably, for myself, like, I love that. That's like essential to my growth. Is like, as a Jew, the greatest thing ever to happen.
Baruch Hashem. No,
it just shows like Chazak, every single thing that happens, like each individual is impacted.
Thank God. No, Baruch Hashem. We have Siyata Deshmaya. It's all from Hashem. That we do our Hishadut, and hopefully you do things, in my experience, L'Shem Shamayim, and for the right reasons, and there's no ego, mind, this, that. BBM. Somebody said to me, why is it called BBM, Brampton Bet Midrash? Why isn't it called the Chazak Bet Midrash? And I said, it's for people on phase 3. I said, what's phase 3? I said, phase 1 is damage control. People down on their Judaism. Get them to neutral. Phase 2 is inspire. Phase 3 is, you can do more higher level learning. You can learn some Gemara, you can learn some Halacha, not just sit back and be entertained. You need that, but you can't do that for 2, 3, 4 years. Just come to a Parsha Shir and be inspired. You need to take it to the next level. So I said, it's not about Chazak, and it's not about Sfaradim or Ashkenazim. It's just a Bet Midrash. I don't think there's anywhere in Hendon, in this area, that's open from 6:15 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, and there's just a Makom Torah. So we're very lucky to have that zuchut to be able to open such a place, and
that there's always people in there as well.
Yeah, and it's chilled, and there's no this type or that type. There's all different types. I'm very proud of this one. We have at 6:45. I started a kids kollel. Shachrit 7:15. I told the kids davening prayers between you and Hashem. But if you come at 6:45 in the morning, you're in kollel. I pay £2 a day, and thank God we've been having about between 10 and 15 kids every morning.
Wow.
One mom said to me, "This is ages 11 till about 15."
This is every morning, or
not Sunday and Shabbat, but Monday through Friday.
Wow,
that's
come. Dedication. Then.
Yeah, but I look at it and say I'm teaching them.
Yeah,
you wake up, you learn, you pray, and then you start your day. Whether it's work, whether it's university, whether it's school, that's what you do. You get up and you daven. But before you daven, you learn. And everyone needs an extra incentive. £2 a day, $10 at the end of the week if you came every day. And one mom said to me, I don't have to fight with him to wake up in the morning. He goes to sleep early. You got to wake up at 6. And he's going to learn. This is the dream. It's unbelievable. So I'm very proud of that. But yeah, the Bet Midrash, Baruch Hashem, is very busy. At night, there's no more seats. I want to do some programs, and this is Baruch Hashem.
To me, that just those kids, they're gonna go like having already set what you said from 11 to 15. Imagine where they are when they're 20, when they're 30. Like having said these things, just that's incredible. And it just Chazak in general, like we were going back into this. We were saying like so it started 11 years ago. It's where it's at now. There's for sure there's in between times that just I assume not everything was so dandy and went so smoothly. Or you're saying it did? Maybe
that depends how you define success. There was, let's say, like financially, the first year was very good, and we hired another rabbi, and then our whole budget was £200,000, and one person who had pledged like 50K didn't come through. Another person who pledged 20K, so like almost half our budget was suddenly like, what just happened? It was stressful, but I remember one time I went to a fundraising meeting. Took the bus to town, on an hour on the bus, sat with the guy for another hour and nothing. And I'm on the bus back, and a half hour in, I'm listening to my shiurim. I'm dyslexic, so I retain stuff much better audio. Right, wherever I go, I take my AirPods. I tell people, you're going on a plane, 45 minutes in the taxi to the airport. What are you doing? Nothing. So you can listen to Shmoozing with Avi as well. Right? Listen to a shiur. There's so many websites. There's so many things. Torah anytime.
Crazy stuff.
You know what I mean? You from the time you get to the airport to the time you get on the plane, usually at least an hour and a half, 2 hours, 5 minutes you need to go through security. You know, that you have to take out the AirPods. You can gain so much and learn so much. So I'm listening to a shiur from my Rabbi Berkowitz, and I just wasted 2.5 hours. And I was like, not in a good mood. And he in that shiur, Hashem sends you to hear what you need to hear. My Rabbi was like, if something's too easy, that means the Yetzer Hara wants it to happen. It's when you need to struggle and persevere, and when times are tough, that's when you know you're doing the right thing. And that was like exactly what I needed to hear right then. I was like, okay, I got it. I'm going to keep going. No such thing. So Baruch Hashem, there's been programs that we started that didn't necessarily work out that great. But overall, Baruch Hashem, we've had Siyata Deshmaya that almost everything has been very successful. It depends how you define success, but people coming, growing, involved. Thank God, we've been very lucky to have divine intervention, to have Siyata Deshmaya.
So you guys have quite a few Rebbeim these days as well, no?
So we have different branches. We have over here in New York, the idea I always pictured.
Yeah, because you can explain as well the different Chazaks as well.
Yeah, so we started Chazak over here. Rabbi Farhi said to me, I want this to be something that we'll do all over the world. All over the world you have Esha Torah, you have Seed, you have Or Sameach, and there's different branches. And my understanding is ultimately they have nothing to do with each other. Meaning the Aish in the UK might have been that the one who started it had the same Rebbe, Rabbi Weinberg, as the Aish in LA and the Aish in New York and the Aish in Canada and Toronto, wherever it might be. But financially, one has nothing to do with the other, and even each one runs their branch the way they want. And same thing with Or Sameach, Seed. He said, I would love to do Chazak, that all over the world we have branches. And we looked and we said, where's the biggest amounts of Sfaradim that are English speaking? France has loads, but it's a different mentality and different language. Israel as well. And we said there's New York, and even in New York, each borough, or each one of the 5 parts of New York City could have its own branch, if you will. But we said definitely there's a lot going on in Brooklyn, there's stuff going on in Queens. We felt that Manhattan didn't necessarily have as much. And we looked at Los Angeles, looked at Miami, and we said, we'll build a template here in London, because we already had the infrastructure, we were already working with the schools and with the shuls. And then we said, we'll have a basic template. This is what we do. Start with the teens. You have a couple of kids programs once in a while. Start with the teens, then continue with them as they're in college and university. And then when they're young professionals, when they're at this age, we try and do this age, try and do that. And these types of trips, etc. And originally we were going to open up a branch in Miami. I applied to all the schools. I had meetings with all the rabbis. I made an offer on a house, which didn't work out. And then when Rabbi Farhi got offered the opportunity in Manhattan to be the rabbi in the Safra synagogue and also start Chazak over there, we said that's more important for Klal Yisrael. So you go there, I'll stay here. And Rabbi Ari Ben Shushan, who's a superstar, especially if you listen to Torah anytime, for years I was trying to recruit him to come to London, and I showed him what we were doing, and I said, Yalla, I want you to be part of the team. Where would you go? And his wife has 2 sisters in Los Angeles. He said, maybe Los Angeles. So we went out there to check out if there's a need, and there definitely is. And we said, let's do it. So we have branches of Chazak in LA, in New York and in London, and we'll see where else.
I've got to say, that's crazy Messias Nefesh that you give up going.
Definitely. I told my kids because we were in Miami, went to the schools, they saw the schools and everything. And I said to my kids, we're soldiers in Hashem's army, and a soldier goes wherever he's needed the most. It's glamorous to be, on the front lines, but if you're needed in the kitchen, you go to the kitchen. The weather might be nicer in Miami, but if we're needed in London, we're needed in London.
Wow. I've got to ask though, why Chazak with a Q on the other ones other than Chazak London?
There's a Chazak in Queens with the Q. Q is for Queens, aimed at the Bukharian community.
I thought the Los Angeles one as well.
No, we have Chazak with the K.
Yeah,
I think that's the regular way of spelling it. The one with the Q is specifically in Queens. They have the Meirov brothers, Rabbi Meirov, that I understand they're doing great work.
And it's all connected.
No, so the one with the Q is nothing to do with us. That was started potentially, I think, before us, and they do their own thing. But we have the branches we have in Los Angeles. We have Rabbi Meir Sultan, who's originally from Montreal. He's doing amazing work. He opened up in the Valley a Chazak Torah Center that, thank God, is booming and packed. They just did Achnasat Sefer Torah. Was it last Sunday or the Sunday before? And Yom Kippur, they had 150 people. They have minyanim nets and learning programs. Thank God, it's amazing. And Rabbi Ari Ben Shushan is in the Pico Robinson area, and he's doing amazing stuff. Thank God. And in Manhattan, there's Rabbi Farhi, and there's also Rabbi Ruvain Abragamov, who's a star. Rabbi Lawrence Hadjioff, who's actually British.
So I actually met in Muncie. No?
He lives in Muncie, and he's been working for Chazak and doing a lot of great stuff, especially in Great Neck as well. And Rabbi Arya Mizrahi is the associate rabbi in Safra Synagogue, also doing some stuff for Chazak. So, and then over here we have myself, my colleague Rabbi Yitzi David, Rabbi Kalani, who runs BBM, the Bet Midrash, and we just hired another rabbi that's going to be starting in January. I want him to put a big focus, especially on kids in non-Jewish schools. Because as busy as we are, I think that needs to be a big focus.
That's a hard task to do, though. The kids in non-Jewish school, they're usually in non-Jewish school for a reason.
Usually, but I think we're very lucky that we know a lot of the parents from working with the community, and a lot of parents have come to us saying, what can you do for my kids? So it's not, usually you walk into a school, even if you went into a non-Jewish school, legally, because of data, you're not allowed to, child protection, you can't take down their phone number, and then, in school's great, but how are you going to do programming for them outside of school and trips and even be in touch to come again to the school? So because we know the parents, a lot of the parents are coming to us. My colleague Rabbi Yitzi David was in Lauderdale Road on Yom Kippur, and a few parents came over saying, our kids love the explanatory service. How can we do more? And I was in the suburbs a few weeks ago, and a lot of the kids started coming to after-school programs we have over here. Kids in Habs, kids in Highgate, kids in UCS. So thank God, but I think there's a big need, and that's nobody's job as of now. No one's made it their job, so we'll do our hishtadlut and see what Hashem has.
Because also you got the BBM guys as well starting their own. We've got Beam as well as the Chazak. Yeah,
so Beam, we have a business project. When I was in Deal last summer in Deal, New Jersey, there's a guy called David Hillel. His uncle is Rabbi Yaakov Hillel, and I sat with him. He started a project at the time. It was called Rising Stars. I think they changed the name. Someone said to me he was on the cover of the Mishpacha or Ami or whatever it was recently. And he was working, he does Amazon, and he saw that there's a lot of kids, not academic, and he said, look, come to my warehouse, and this way, on the streets, and we'll pay you a little bit, and you can learn a parnasa. And I thought the idea was genius, because we have a lot of students that are great, but when you're not academic in school, you're made to feel like a shmata, and a nobody, and a hazid, and a nebuch. So I took the concept, we fine-tuned it a little bit, and we said, this isn't an indefinite thing, it's a one-year program. We were lucky enough to get some funding from the government, the National Lottery, from the XLARC Foundation, and now from the Dello page. And we have kids that, again, aren't academic, and the morning they come over here to this building, and we have, from about 10 to 12, almost, I would say 3 times a week, out of the 5 days, there's different guest speakers. But not doctors or lawyers, because they're never going to be doctors and lawyers. Hustlers, people in real estate, people in e-commerce, all different types of stuff, and they just talk about life and life lessons and practical things. And we had a guy who does insurance, and you would have thought it's really boring. He said, no, it's a hustle. And these kids are seeing, so it's called BEAM, because BEAM stands for business, e-commerce, which is the main focus, arts, because a lot of these kids are very unique in their own way, but they're not necessarily, that's not academic way. Someone's artistic, and then M is mentorship. And we have different people mentoring the kids and being there for the kids. And I say kids, these are 18 to 24-year-old. Last year, one kid was actually 17, and his father never would have let him to go to Israel. He said, "You're not responsible, you sleep." When he saw that he woke up every day 8 o'clock, was here, and took it seriously, he said, "All right, now I'll let you go to yeshiva." And everybody else, the other 8 guys, all got jobs, thank God.
Right.
Yeah, these are kids that you would have said, I don't know, they have no direction, I don't know what they want. Because a lot of the stuff we do, so 10 to 12, they're here, and either there's guest speakers or they're doing courses, QuickBooks. And one guy loved the QuickBooks, and thank God we got him an mentorship. We got an internship, which was really hard this past year because nobody was in the office. But thank God, and then he just got a job with a mega accounting firm.
Wow.
And on the interview, he said, "I did this, I tried this, I learned this, I heard about this, I heard this one," and they were just really impressed. Normally, they take a few weeks; they offer him the job on the spot. Another guy's a job in marketing.
That's seriously that's setting them up for life.
Yeah,
you're giving them direction.
100%. So a lot of the stuff we do, they're here from 10 to 12, then there's lunch, and then hands-on e-commerce. So people either donate to us goods, or we buy it, sell on return, because people appreciate the program. And they're able to say, "All right, great, when I sell this, it makes sense," because one kid said to me, "When I sell 100 batteries, we only make 2 pounds profit. We sell 80 batteries, because of the shipping is this much less, we make 6 pounds profit. We got 10,000 skipping ropes, jumping rope from China. And we realized when you sell it at $199, shipping is 96p. $199, we sold 360 one weekend. You raised it to $219, only sold 70. So they're learning real hands-on, e-commerce.
And I see your finance degree is coming to
A little bit.
See, Hashem sends you down the right path at the right time.
Always, 1,000,000%. So that, thank God. And then this year also we have another track. We even took in some high school kids and doing a special high school track, because there's the kids that in school they weren't going to high school, they weren't doing their A-levels and the further education. But we're able to tap in, and a lot of the courses we do are also helping you understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. So that's very fundamental, to know what you might be good at, what you think you might want to do, understanding who you are and what are your strengths, what are your interests. Is that realistic or not realistic based on what it is that you're saying you want to do? You might be a risk taker, that's great, but you want to make a difference in people's lives, so maybe do something. There's many different facets.
So where do you see now, I know you said you weren't planning in the futures and stuff, but you must have some sort of idea of where you want to take the future.
So right now, this building we're renting, and thank God there's probably 10 after-school programs a week, about 2 every single day. And if we had more room, there'd be more after-school programs, especially girls. I wish we have 2 a week, and we have 2 night programs, young professional girls and university girls. But I wish we could be doing more. And then the building we're renting now, we have the Bet Midrash, we have the Beam project. We actually just started renovations, hopefully be ready in 6 weeks. We're opening up a wellness center that you can walk in off of the road, Main Street. There's going to be a smoothie bar. And then right now we're going to be focusing at the beginning, especially on self-defense. So we just bought a boxing ring, and then there's going to be kickboxing, Krav Maga, boxing bags, free weights, and then a room for mental health sessions. Because when you're physically in a good place, quite often you're mentally in a much better place. And this year, it's been a rough couple of years with Corona. Mm-hmm. Pass me your bottle.
Sure.
I was in one of the schools, and I picked up the bottle, and I said there was a university professor. She picks up the bottle, and everyone thought classic, half empty, half full. And she says, "How heavy is this bottle?" You heard this before? How heavy is this bottle? People are like, "I don't know, a pound, a kilo, 2, with the water, without the water." She says, "You're all wrong. It depends how long you hold the bottle. If you hold the bottle for a few minutes, it's not heavy. If you hold the bottle for a few hours, it's really heavy. If you hold the bottle all day, your muscles will become paralyzed and you won't be able to function." She said, "You're about to start university and it's stressful. If you hold that stress for a few minutes, it's cool. It's all good. You hold that stress for a few hours, it's really heavy. You hold that stress all day, you'll become paralyzed, unable to live life." So I was speaking to 100 kids. I said, everybody's on the mental health spectrum somewhere. Everyone gets stressed. Some people are lucky enough that they have the tools to know how to only hold it for a few minutes. And then there's those that are holding it for a few hours, and it's really hard for them. And then there's even that small fraction of people that are holding it all day. the anxiety, the stress. When people think, oh, this one, she's cutting or anorexic or bulimic, that's the result of the problem. The problem is the low self-esteem. The problem is the anxiety. The problem is, whatever it might be. Sometimes there's severe issues. We're not experts. You make sure they find the proper necessary care that they need. But even to make young people aware and give them the physical, the kickboxing, the Krav Maga, the yoga, whatever it is that they need, and then also have the mental health sessions there together. And I love the fact that it's in the same building as the Bet Midrash.
It's gonna be downstairs.
Downstairs from BBM, yeah.
Because they're building J-Roots is taking over the building.
So not J-Roots. Right now, that building is owned by Jewish Futures, but Baruch Hashem, they have I think about 20 million to raise, maybe a little bit less. So till that happens, we have probably at least 18 months, maybe longer. So we take life a day at a time, but just get it started. You know what I mean? And if we need to move, so you're asking what are long-term plans? I would love to build a massive, because we're renting here, we're renting there. I'd love to build a massive Chazak community center. And it's not really a dream, meaning most places say we're going to take this building and we hope to do A, B, C, D, F, G. I can come and say we already have 10 after-school programs and this many night learning programs, and the Bet Midrash has 100 to 150 people every single day walking in and out of the doors to learn and to pray. We have 6 minyanim every single day, which was unheard of. People like, maybe you'll get 1 minyan, you know what I mean? And to have 2 shachrits, 2 minchas, and 2 arbits, and Shabbat, and all the learning and everything. So, I'd like to think that the community appreciates that we're not just talking, we're doing.
It is genuinely for the community. That's what I love. I've got another question that's, I guess you're going to be one of the best people to ask this, because for the American listeners, can you explain the differences between the two communities? As in, I know there's multiple communities, hundreds of communities, thousands, I don't know, probably up in the thousands of communities in America. But I assume,
London is much smaller, for sure, than let's say like a New York or Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So let's say the school that you went to for a while, Hasmonean. There's no such school in America. When I walked into Hasmonean, they have, let's say, like J1, J2, J3, J4, J5, which is the different levels of religious and intensity, I guess, in the school. You would never have in America a school that there's J5 kids that would never go to yeshiva and are not really keeping Shabbat, aren't religious, in the same school as the J1 kids that are wearing black hats and going to Tomo and Beis and Birkas HaTorah, etc. So in America, you would never have a school that had such a wide range of levels of religiosity, if that's a word. So that's one difference. Over here, things are much smaller, and therefore you can make a much bigger impact. In America, in most places, it's just so big, so it's that much more challenging. Mm-hmm. Over here, they've upped their games when it comes to restaurant over the past 10 years.
It's definitely true.
Because
we haven't got an Izzy's here, but one day.
10 years ago, people used to come and be like, where should I go? I'm like, you're wasting your time. There's nothing compared to America. Over here, there's a lot of really good restaurants now. So that's definitely...
You can name and shame. We've got good Novelinos. Pizza's up the game.
Pizza's great. A hummus bar is delicious. And then you have even the nicer ones, the fancier ones. A Tony Page, a Delicatessen, a Rubens. There's a lot. I'm just saying that didn't exist.
Rubens
been around, but it's a new owner and they've upped their game as well. So definitely there's a lot more there. What are the differences? People in America, the stereotype of British people is I think I'm better than you. Maybe a little bit with the old school wealthy people, but anybody under the age of 40 watch the same TV, watch the same friends, watch the same, so the same celebrities, and everybody's on the same TikTok and Insta. So it's not that wide of a difference. In certain ways, England is still like 10 to 20 years behind America, but in some ways it's good, in some ways it's bad. Like I tell people, I'm from Brooklyn, from Flatbush, and they say, what do you like about London? I said, it's going to sound weird. I like that almost every single house on my road looks exactly the same. Some people are millionaires and some people are broke. But on the outside, in Flatbush, you would never have that every house looks the same.
We were walking around. Every house is complete. I find it crazy, by the way, that every house is built as like wooden. As in, like there's like if there's one little fire, I'm talking about in America. If one fire happens,
there's probably a brick houses. Depends where you are. But
I guess I'm in Queens.
All very, very. I don't know Queens well. Yeah. They're all very, very different. And if you copy someone else's house, you did this color brick, but that's our thing. Like over here, they all look the same. Yeah. Now it's starting to change. That's what I'm saying. They're catching up to America now. On my road, any house that's bought has been pretty much knocked down and built up, and they are quite different. But so that things are changing. That's what I'm saying. America's still a little bit ahead, but it's not as different as people think.
Yeah.
It's not like it used to be.
Because I feel like when you say there's a culture difference or mentality difference at all.
Mentality, yeah. There, everything's a little bit bigger and a little bit better, and a little bit crazier. I say British people are like the weather. Not too hot, not too cold. You know what you're getting yourself into. It rarely is 80 degrees, Fahrenheit, and it rarely snows. It snows once every 2-3 years over here. So it's like the people. The people, they're not too crazy. They're not too for good or for bad.
That's definitely in America. What I've come to realize is everything's at an extreme to some extent. Your politics, your food. There's the jumbo size there is different to jumbo size. There's
no such thing as jumbo. Over there, I was in America in the summer. I showed my kids, this is a small.
Yeah.
And I asked them, what would these be considered in London? And they're like, large or extra large.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like small fries, they're genuinely it's two full things of fries here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's fun,
Yeah. But I guess maybe one difference, like I do a lot of Poland trips. I've been 20 times. I would think.
Can we dwell on that for a second?
Sure.
20 times.
So I've been
does
here.
Does it?
Certain places definitely loses its impact. Certain places will never lose their impact. They're just so powerful, and every group is a different group. Whether it's adults, whether it's teens, and even I can tell you, Havdalah with this group was like next level, crazy. One of the highlights of my. And the mass children's grave with this group was very powerful, more than ever before. And being in this place and hearing the story of this person who had a family member that got perished here, that was very memorable to me. Hearing this story in that area, having this teenager say this. So every trip has its own unique participants and therefore its own unique flavors. Because each place has different people at different stages that said certain things or revealed certain things or heard certain things and reacted in their own unique way. But I've never been on a trip with Americans, but I would imagine Americans would definitely be much more emotional. I'm much more emotional than the average participant, even after I've been 20 times. Because the British people, as much as I'm saying it's similar cultures now with the social media, still British people aren't as open. You know what they say about an American. You sit next to him on the plane, within a half hour, you know his whole life story.
I brought my friend over Baruch Hashem, we had our first Chevra's wedding, so we had it on Monday, and I took him on the tube. So he's on the tube, he's talking to everyone. I'm like, buddy, you can't. This is London. You don't do that.
You avoid eye contact.
Literally, you put up. I gave him a newspaper. I was like, just focus on here. You don't talk to anyone. He's like pointing out. He's like, whoa, look at these comic books. He's like, wow, have you seen this thing? He was like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, have you seen all that's going on? I'm like, I've seen it, but maybe keep it to yourself. Like, it's a different. We're much more reserved, but at the same time, I think there's pros and cons, obviously, for just.
Sure. So that would I say would be to some extent maybe the only difference in the cultures, but it's not nearly as much as it used to be or as much as they stereotype it in America.
Yeah.
The only time I was one time in one of the shuls in town, wealthy shul, and they were saying I walked 2 hours to come give a speech. I want to thank Rabbi Levy for walking 2 hours, and everyone said, hear, hear. I never got a hear, hear. It was worth walking 2 hours to get a hear, hear, because that's like the British. Stereotype.
Yeah.
it was great.
Very proper.
Exactly. It's not like
it's a shame though, because it's dying out. It's just, I guess, this old culture. Like,
that's what I'm saying. The old wealthy people maybe, but otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah, this new generation. But can we? This might be a controversial topic. We might end up cutting this out if it doesn't work. But I was going to say, can we talk about some of the issues that you find that this culture is having on us, and especially the kids, and not just the kids. Like, I don't know if we want to call it Western society or just however you want to define it. What would you say?
I guess the Millennial Generation. So I don't know that has to do with England and not America.
Yeah, I'm saying, I guess in general.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think kids have the work ethic, and there's a certain expectation of Magiali. I deserve to have. The latest phone, and I deserve that my parents should buy this for me, and I deserve. It used to be when a kid got in trouble, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and the teacher called up the parents, the kid was in trouble, and the parents would always back the teacher. Now it's the opposite. If a kid does something wrong, the teacher is going to complain. The parent's going to complain how the teacher didn't control the room, and the kids told me that you one time said that. And the schools it's just a different mentality, and therefore the kids aren't nearly as resilient, I think, as they used to be. And we're not seeing the results yet because they're still teens and they're still very young professionals. But just let's say over Corona, people started working from home. I saw a guy today in shul. And I said, "Oh, how's it going? How's the job?" He's like, "Good." I'm like, "It's so funny because you started the same time as this guy." And I saw him last night in shul, and he told me that he's switching jobs after 5 months. He's like, "Yeah, everybody loves a good move." And the mentality of young people is, "All right, I'm here, and I'm looking for a better job."
We all have ADHD.
I grew up work hard, and if you work hard, your company will take care of you. You be there for them, they'll be there for you. There was a certain sense of loyalty. Over here, it's the opposite. Now, you might tell me the companies also don't have the loyalty. They'd rather rinse you and then go to the next guy who's younger and cheaper, and they're going to rinse him as well and take advantage of him and work him crazy hours. But it was just that all over the place, ADHD, constantly running around. I'd rather work from home. I'm not interested in coming in. I'll work on my schedule. I'll wear what I want to wear. It's just that mentality. It's different. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I think there's definitely a lot of drawbacks, but it's different than it was 20 years ago and definitely 30 or 40 years ago.
So it's going to lead me on to my next question. It's kind of like a double-barrel question, but this is also relevant to America as well. Do you see there being a future for? I guess in your position, you sort of have to look at it as there will be a future in the UK, like the UK Jewry. I'm also talking about American society as well. Do you see that being a place for Jews in Western society?
For sure. The bad has never been this bad, but the good's never been this good. Meaning, you're right.
You can refer to Torah any time. Like, you've got Torah anytime on your phone. You've got Torah wherever you want.
Sure, it's all over the place, and there's so much going on. You never had. We'll go back even 100 years ago for sure. Girls didn't learn anything. You hear about Sarah Schneer. She made this revolution. That was literally 100 years ago, like 1919, 1920. It was a seamstress who never got married, didn't have any kids, started in her dress shop, giving classes, and many people were against her. It's not what we do. But there's thousands of girls in seminary and learning and going to classes and programs. And you used to have a handful of people that were studying to be rabbis learning. You never had that. When Chacham Ovadia passed away, and they were talking about how in the 40s and 50s, he went around giving shiurim, people told him, "You're crazy." And he would have 3 people and 5 people. Thank God, every shul has loads of programming, and there's hundreds of people. You go to Israel, just the Mir Yeshiva has 8,000 students. You start taking into account everybody, there's maybe even hundreds of thousands of students studying. So of course there's a future. There's so much going on. That being said, the bad is worse than it's ever been before. There's definitely a lot of challenges out there, and things are changing so fast that parents don't know how to adapt, and even forget about parents, the schools and the rabbis don't know how to adapt. I'll give you an example. If you would have said to me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you want to make an event for a bunch of teenagers, what's the best way to do it? I would have said you get 5 or 6 ambassadors. Each one of them invites 10 of their friends, 3 guys, 3 girls, ideally different schools. You say, we're doing this Purim party, we're doing this Friday night event, whatever it is. Make sure that they all have their friends, make an event on Facebook. They all click attending. And then once there's 40 or 50 or 60 of the cool right kids attending, you'll get 400. And it worked. We did it multiple times. Nowadays, teens don't have Facebook.
Facebook is for...
it's for old people.
Yeah.
And I remember a few years ago saying the most popular app doesn't even exist yet. Right now, with teens, I would assume it's TikTok. TikTok's 2 years old? A little bit more? What's going to be the most popular app in 2 years from now doesn't exist yet. Things are just changing so fast that adults don't know how to adapt or how to keep up, or we wouldn't even know where to start because they never even heard of TikTok. They don't understand the concepts of social media. You have certain adults, I'll hear them say, "My kid sits in his room, I told him go to the library. Library works for you. Now the library's on his laptop. Why should he go to the library?" Mm-hmm. But parents don't understand that. Some do, obviously, but it's different. So is there a future? I definitely think there's a great future. That being said, there's also going to be bigger losses maybe than ever before, because there's plenty of people that aren't involved, or they're buying what they're selling online and on social media, that might be very against what it is, the Torah ideology. So you might lose more, but you definitely... And look, the intermarriage rate in London, I think, is about 50%. In America, it's over 70%. So is there a future, depending which communities you're looking at?
At what point does it die out? Well, it's not going to... Hope Bezrat Hashem, it will never die out, because we've got strong communities. We've got things like Chazak, but I'm saying the people who are going off are going further and further away. And
so that's what I'm saying. The good's greater than ever before, but the bad's worse than ever before. There's probably more people leaving than ever before. I don't know. They say that in old school Europe, as much as they talk about the heyday and the great tzaddikim, and there was plenty of people going off then too. I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers, the statistics. I've heard stories, but I wouldn't say anything because I just never verified them. So there's definitely, I think, a great future, but there's also going to be some big losses that didn't exist. The average, it's becoming more black and white. The average traditional Jew, if they're going to marry out within a generation or two, don't exist. And then there'll be people that marry out and it's the mom, it's the dad. They consider themselves Jewish, but they're not really Jewish. Or people who don't consider themselves Jewish that are really Jewish. So it can, over the next 20 years, get a lot more challenging in certain ways. But I'd like to think that the good out there is doing really well. There's a lot of good. And I see a lot of kids coming to programming, at least in Chazak, Baruch Hashem, Li'anara, that 10 years ago wouldn't. I've heard from many parents, I wish this existed when I was a kid. I wish there was rabbis that were normal, that were chilled, that gave programming, and the kids come and they'll play on the PS5 and snooker and whatever it is, and have dinner, but also have a connection to a religious organization and walk away with some thought-provoking practical Torah that didn't exist 20, 30 years ago. They didn't feel that was needed. I remember one rabbi, I was in a shul, and they said to him, the youth aren't coming to the main service, it's too long, why don't we make a youth service? And the rabbi said, in Morocco, in Yemen, in Persia, in Iraq, they didn't have youth services. It's not what we do. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, it's so sad. And now, no young people go to their shul. You know what I mean? And the ones that did have youth services or created youth services are the ones that are busy. You need to adapt.
So what would you say to the people who, maybe it's not even a case of not being able to come to Chazak, for just a normal, how do you say they combat? Like a normal person can, of course, if they had the opportunity, come to these places, but how do you say they can survive, or even survive, grow in this culture? What's the best way to do that?
Which type of person are you referring to? How can they grow?
So someone who is definitely looking, who maybe doesn't understand everything that's going on just yet, but
so I think there's so many. They need to be directed, because you mentioned the Torah anytime. There's thousands of speakers. You have no idea where to start, who to actually listen to that's going to be good for you. But there's so much out there that you can definitely find a speaker or classes that are relevant for you. If you're very intellectual and you enjoy a class from Rabbi Daniel Rowe or Rabbi Sachs or Rabbi Tatz, that's great. And if there's so many different types of speakers out there. So there's definitely somebody for everybody that you can find online and listen to some classes. But usually it's important to have a relationship, to find somebody that you can go to for Shabbat, somebody that you can go to for questions. And if you have a mentor, male or female, rabbi or non-rabbi, that definitely helps.
Because often I hear people they say, my Rebbe told me this or something like that. Often some people see that as a negative thing. They say, okay, you only listen to your Rebbe, you don't think for yourself. What do you say to that kind of mindset?
I would hope that the rabbi gave you the tools to think for yourself. I remember I heard from my brother-in-law, Rabbi Farchi. He said in the name Rabbi Weinberg, who started Isha Torah. He said, most people in life, robots. They're wearing Prada and Gucci and Louis Vuitton and Louboutins, and they're sitting on the beach with their pina coladas and the coconut with a little umbrella. They're a bunch of robots. That's what they saw on TV. That's what they saw in the adverts. They're robots. He said, you also have people wearing white shirts and black trousers, black pants, studying yeshiva, also robots. It's just a matter of who's pushing the buttons. He said, I'm not saying don't enjoy your pina colada, and I'm definitely not saying don't go to yeshiva. All I'm saying is don't be a robot. We said na'aseh, but there's also nishma. We got the Torah. We don't just do blindly. We're not supposed to be robots. We do it. But now nishma, let's understand why we're doing what we're doing. So we definitely need to understand why we're doing it. I would hope that the rabbi gave the kids the tools to be able to figure it out on his own, or at least encourage them to ask the questions and not just be a robot.
We often, it's a big theme on the podcast, combating like autopilot mode. That's what we like to say.
100%.
It's a classic. You just do it because everyone else is doing it. Until what point? Until you no longer want to anymore.
Yeah, or not everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
So definitely, you gotta be growing, and you gotta be asking, and you gotta be. A lot of times in classes, I'll ask obvious questions. Azaku Baruch Hashem, you saved us from Mitzrayim. You put us there in the first place.
Why?
Well, if I punch you in the face, throw you in the street, there's a truck about to run you over, and then I grab you out of the way the last second, I'm a hero?
Tzaddik.
Not a hero, I put you there. Hashem, you put us there. So you saved us. Ask obvious questions that some reason they don't ask. Shabbat. It's a day of rest. Why I gotta walk an hour and a half to go to a bar mitzvah in town when I can take an Uber? I like fresh food. I want a barbecue. How's that a day of rest when I have to start heating stuff up on the hot plate?
Watching Netflix is relaxing.
Yeah. So these are the questions I ask in classes, and then we have to have the answers. Mm-hmm. Well, why do I have to keep kosher? How does it make me a better person? All these types of things that I think are obvious, that I found to be obvious. When I asked them, why do we daven? Hashem knows what He's doing. If He made this person not be well, surely there's a reason. Why should I daven? I'm going to change God's mind. He knows what He's doing. Why do we daven? Just certain fundamental basics that I think need to be taught and need to be asked. Quite often, at least when I ask the people in classes, they're like, "No, I don't know."
A good question, Rob.
That's why we come to class.
Yeah. Okay, wow, Shkoyach. This was an incredible episode. Can we where can they find you? Where if they're looking on Chazak's website?
I guess there's a Chazak YouTube page. I don't have that many classes. There's a lot of amazing speakers. I don't know. I'm not such a big social media person.
I've seen you a couple of times on the Chazak Facebook page.
Yes, I have some stuff that I do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit old school, or I don't know. I believe that success comes when you're not looking for success. You just put your head down, you teach Torah, you do your thing, you create programs, and you daven v'siyata d'shmaya, and it is what it is.
And so, they can donate online or
we have a website, wearechazak.com. Donate. I think we just finished redoing the website, so they should be able to find some definitely information. But there's the Chazak Facebook page. On Insta, we are Chazak. So
who is Chazak?
I'm saying it's called We Are Chazak. Chazak.com was taken and Chazak.org was taken, so we went with We Are Chazak. We don't, because we're international. We didn't want something just being
Chazak UK.
Yeah. So we needed something that
the full planning there is.
Yeah.
I like it.
We Are Chazak.com.
Yofi, is there any leaving message that you want to give the audience here? Any chizuk, any musa, whatever?
Just understand that if you want to be successful in life, you need to persevere, you need to keep going, and you need to stay connected to our heritage, learn from the past, and bring it into the future. We don't have to live in the past, and don't think that we know better. Take the lessons from the past in our own lives, but especially in Jewish history and in the Torah, and apply it to our lives today, because it's so beautiful and practical and delicious. And no matter how challenging things get, just keep going, persevere. If you do that, then usually Hashem will help you be successful.
Shkoyach. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. We apologize. There were